A New York appeals court just threw out Judge Engoron and Letitia James's fine against Trump, $500 million. That's right. Trump just got $500 million richer today. Welcome to Doug in Exile as we go through the news. This is the third of 4 shows today. Shout out to the Quad Club who watch 4 videos a day and help keep the lights on around here. Let's watch the good news. Leticia James, she's crying in her supersized McDonald's meal.
$364 million civil fraud penalty. This just happened. It is a developing story. We're getting a lot more information, a big news story for the day. We're going to bring you more details as we get them. This just in. Also want to bring you this.
Okay, well, don't you guys worry. I'll bring you the news on this article right here. It'll give you the whole rundown over at Newsweek. Oh, this is the best news, guys. This is huge. It shows the lawfare against Trump where Leticia James tried to break him. And it makes us skeptical in the legal system going, well, of course, if you run a case through Judge Engoron and Leticia James in Manhattan, Trump's going to end up paying $500 million. Well, this is the same legal justice system. It's not like a new judge appointment was put there in New York. And it's the system correcting itself at the appeals level. And that's what the appeals court is designed to do, to appeal bad decisions by political Democrats in New York. Remember, this is the worst place in the country to have a lawsuit if you're a Republican. And even at that worst place ever, even with their appeals court being the worst ever, they overturned this fine. Let's read. Trump wins major victory. Appeals court overturns New York City civil fraud judgment that's just came out today on Newsweek. An appeals court has overturned the massive civil fraud penalty against President Donald Trump, ruling Thursday in New York's lawsuit accusing him of inflating his wealth. That was a totally made up charge. All this money came from nowhere. All this charge and this fine. Leticia James, my hat's off to you. You apparatchik, you communist, just invented this charge from nowhere, including inventing the crime. This crime doesn't even exist that they charged him for. The decision came 7 months after the Republican returned to the White House. I'm going to get into that in a second, a 5-judge panel of New York's appellate division concluded that the $515 million judgment, originally set at $355 million plus interest, was excessive and unconstitutional under the 8th Amendment. They went back to the Constitution. The guardrails of the Constitution even held in communist, liberal, woke judge New York. This is a pretty high praise to our founders. I have to go back because that's what did this. It was our structure. What does that, it took 7 months after the Republican to return to the White House? I just want to tell you guys, this is also, because everyone in the comments, again, I get it. I hear you, listening to you, not condemning you, but they all say, everyone's going to walk. There's no justice. This is to counter that mode of thinking. I want you to build an altar in your mind, stack little rocks in your mind about this factoid, how long it took. He was 7 months in office. This is a year after all those lawsuits came, which were purely lawfare trying to get him to lose an election. Number one, he won the election. So the voters countered all of these lies. Their propaganda didn't work. Lies didn't work. The American patriot is more present and solid than we thought. Build that altar in your mind. Put it there. This took 7 months. It took a year, but it took 7 months. Trump went through the normal appellate process and it made it through and he got justice. It got undone. He didn't pay a cent of it. It kept stacking up interest, but he didn't pay a cent of it. Put that on your altar. It takes time. For everyone going like, Bondi, she's not doing anything. Kash Patel, there's no arrest, blah, blah, blah. It takes time, okay? Wheels of justice, wheels of God grind slow, but fine and thorough. Trump had managed to stave off immediate collection by posting a $175 million bond earlier this year. That sum will now be repaid to the Trump organization. I think they should have to repay it with, I'll let the chat determine what percentage of interest rate. Isn't normal if you have a credit card fee, isn't it about 18% interest? I say we run up 18% and pay all of Trump's legal fees, all those lawyers that Trump went with, pay all them their fees. Jack it up, guys. Write everything off on this lawsuit that you can. your car payment, your daughter going to Cabo San Lucas, where you talked about this case, write that off, put that on this case. Eric Trump, the president's son, posted on X, total victory in the sham New York Attorney General case after 5 years of hell. Justice prevailed. This goes back to my first episode also about Steve Bannon having to do jail time. Sometimes you have to go through hell as a patriot, guys. It's not going to be sun and roses. Trump took a bullet, had all these lawsuits against him, had to risk everything, almost would have gone bankrupt and drained if the evil system won. He had faith and it worked out. Glory be to God. God is good. A compliment to America, the Constitution, and our justice system, even though it's all riddled with Democrats in Manhattan. They did their job. Credit. They're probably Obama and Biden appointees. There's probably a couple Trump appointees in there too. But credit. You got to give them credit. Because you can't just be negative about everything, people. Some of you post every single time there's a new video up. I see the same names. Nothing's going to happen. Everyone's going to walk. There's no justice. It's all over. No, it's not. No, it's not. Don't degrade the good work of this appellate court. Their good name needs to remain standing, at least on this show. What to know about the civil fraud case against Donald Trump? The New York Attorney General, this is some back history to fill in some details. New York Attorney General Letitia James, that fraud, that lady, your butt needs to go to jail. She needs to be hit hard for this one. In fact, yesterday they were saying she should step down. She absolutely should step down. This is not what an attorney general does. Filed a sweeping civil fraud lawsuit in 2022, 3 years ago, against Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, and his adult sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. What a beast this woman is. What a fraud beast. Alleging they inflated property values to secure favorable loans and insurance terms. The case unfolded alongside Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, guilty, separate prosecution of Trump on criminal charges, underscoring the breadth of legal challenges the former president faced in New York. The civil trial began in October of 2023 and concluded in January of 2024, just over a year ago. We covered every twist and turn of this one. Looking forward to this day when true justice would come, and we were right to hope for that. With Judge Arthur Engoron, Judge Nudie took pictures of himself shirtless after his weight training. What a trashy, duplicitous monster that guy is. What an embarrassment on you, Engoron. You should also step down in shame. Ruling that Eric Trump, they have to go after your family. They can't just go after you. It's like going after Superman. Trump's like Superman. Remember in Superman 2? Superman is bulletproof. You can't hurt Trump. So you go after his family. That's how you hurt Trump. That's how you really demoralize him. You send your FBI to Mar-a-Lago and you go through Melania Trump's underwear drawer. You search Barron Trump's room for classified documents. Go after his children. Eric Trump, Trump Jr., engaged in persistent financial deception was what the claim was. He ordered Trump to pay $355 million, a penalty that with interest surged past $550. $355 million was absurd. It was the highest punishment yet for no crime. There was no victim. Everyone who he supposedly defrauded said they'd love to do business with him again. That's before he was president, when he had no power. So it's not over power. Engoron's ruling also carried sweeping business restrictions. Donald Trump was barred from running any New York company for 3 years. What's the penalty for that, New York? There needs to be a penalty against Engoron for that. While Eric and Donald Jr. faced 2-year bans from serving as corporate officers. Again, they need damages for slander against their reputation, fiscal damages from New York, from Engoron, from Letitia James. The court required continued oversight of the Trump Organization through an independent compliance director and a court-appointed monitor. This is the human resources of your government, the communist insect hive running their little oversight committees on your personal business, further constraining the family business. As Bragg pressed forward with his criminal hush money case in parallel, Trump denounced both efforts as politically motivated witch hunts. And now, in hindsight, everyone made fun of him for calling it a witch hunt. They said he was undermining democracy and our justice system. No, the truth actually came out and proved this was a witch hunt. He was being frugal with his words. Trump was being reasonable and nuanced with his words for those who say he's too blunt. He was telling the truth. Everyone who said that witch hunt didn't apply, which would be CNN, MSNBC, they were the ones that were being irresponsible with their words. New York Appellate Judge Division ruling, the appeals panel struck down the financial penalty entirely, but left open the possibility of further appeals to New York's highest court. So there could be more appeals now that this fine has been overturned. They could appeal the whole case, which they're also working on. Other sanctions Engoron imposed, such as temporarily barring Trump and his sons from corporate leadership roles, remain on hold while the appeals continue. The appeals court divided on the case's merits, and the trial judge's fraud finding threw out Engoron's penalty in full, but left the door open for further appeals to New York's highest court, the Court of Appeals. Go up to the higher court, Trump. You got good precedent now. In a sharply worded opinion, which totaled more than 300 pages. Oh, I'll read them all on the air for you guys right now. 300 pages. Either all of you would turn off this show or you'd die before I would die before I got through those 300 pages. Judges Diane Renwick and Peter H. Moulton wrote that while Engoron's restrictions on Trump's business practices were, quote, well crafted, unquote, the staggering monetary punishment crossed a constitutional line. So it's well-crafted immorality. Oftentimes lies and immorality have to be well-crafted. So don't give me this crafting. It's a well-crafted lie. Quote, the court's disgorgement order, which directs that defendants pay nearly $500 million to the state of New York. They didn't want to set that precedent. And Kevin O'Leary talked about this. Businesses in New York were waiting to see what happens to it because they would have just fled and gone, look, we're next. Is an excessive fine that violates the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution, they noted. Letitia James and Engoron, anti-Constitution, noted. The panel's deliberation took nearly 11 months after oral arguments last fall, an unusually long time compared to the typical turnaround of weeks or a few months. You know what a bunch of Democrats are saying about that fine taking so long? They're saying there's no justice against Trump. He's going to walk. They're all going to walk. There's no justice. No, it takes time. Even the Democrats trying to get Trump, it takes time. That delay reflects the high stakes and complex constitutional questions surrounding the case, which have been viewed as a test of how far state officials can go in penalizing corporate misconduct. This is good for business in New York, to my New York people. The ruling is the latest in Trump's ongoing legal battles, which include his criminal hush money case, a pair of civil defamation verdicts tied to writer E. Jean Carroll, $85 million, highest penalty in New York's history. I smell another appeal coming, this time against E. Jean Carroll and other litigation. Despite those hurdles, Trump has pressed ahead with his second term in office. And this, I don't even see why this is here. I'll go ahead and read some of it. What's Donald Trump's net worth? Donald Trump's net worth has long been subject to scrutiny and debate, especially as his wealth was played a central role in both business and whatever $2 to $3 billion range. Intangible value of his brand is justification for estimates exceeding $10 billion. So they find him as if he was a $10 billion brand. And then Engoron and Letitia James downvalued the value of Mar-a-Lago at just 18 million. So they could fine him for overestimating the value of his own property. Then they come up with his fine. They overestimate his entire brand to fine him. This is complete two-tiered justice system, absolute witch hunt, absolutely anti-American. I'm happiest right now for my conservatives in New York, for businessmen in New York. This could help New York. This would be, by the way, it got a long way from being fixed, but it starts somewhere. This is the first. This is the first. This could be the turning of the tide to heal New York. God bless Trump. God bless you. God bless. Thank you, Lord, for our Constitution. It stood just a little bit longer in this one case, pushing back on the Democrat, woke, satanic, communist pattern. That's why we never put an X next to a Democrat. What should the fine be against Engoron or the charges be against Engoron? What should the fine and charges be against Letitia James? They're probably going to disbar her already over the real estate fraud. I'm Doug in Exile. Make sure you subscribe. Don't miss a single episode. You can trust me with the news.